Hi guys, this is Tammy, and I'm here to finally tell you all my story. Well, actually not my whole story, but just my cancer story. So I had cancer twice, so it might be a little long, so bear with me, and I hope I remember everything. We'll see. Anyway. So anyway, I started to have this pain in my chest, and problems where I was having problems swallowing, and food would seem like it was getting stuck. So what I decided to do, well, I was missing work so much, and my position was pretty important there, so it wasn't good for me to be off of work. We hired one extra person, but that still wasn't enough, and I decided to step down and go figure out what was wrong with me. That was in 2015, and throughout all of 2015 and part of 2016, I was doing all kinds of tests, and my health was getting worse. I was having problems sleeping because every time I would lay down, I felt like I couldn't breathe. I would wake up in the middle of the night with in sweats, so hot, and like panting. I got to the point where I was afraid to sleep and I was afraid to lay down. I ended up sitting up, and I got this horrible bad cough. Food was getting stuck. I barely could let it. It couldn't even go down at one point. I was sleeping in bed a lot because I couldn't sleep at night, so I would be completely out of it. I was in and out of the hospital a lot. My doc, I told her about this thing that was going on. She's like, "Oh, that's probably just acid reflux." Gives me a med, doesn't do anything. Well, let's give you an upper GI. Had an upper GI, they didn't find anything. Well, and then I go back. Well, it's you just have a cold, so take that stuff, not working. Take an antibiotic, doesn't do anything. And then all of a sudden I woke up in the middle of the night with this sheer pain, and I couldn't breathe. I thought I was having a heart attack and I was going to die. I ended up telling my sister about this, and she works for a wonderful breast center in Michigan. So she started telling her breast surgeon the different symptoms of me and other doctors, and they were telling her, this doesn't look good, you should tell her to try to get a CAT scan. And I asked, and they said no, and I'm like, they said, oh, no, it's probably just this, oh, it's probably just that. And then after I had that massive pain, she said I had this thing called costochondritis, and it is sheer pain. Mostly men get it, and it's in their 30s, but women can, and it feels like you're having a heart attack. And the only thing that can help it is ibuprofen or some kind of inflammatory stuff, medicines, and rest. And I'm like, I've been doing that. Nothing's working. My cough is getting worse. I'm up all night. I asked her for a CAT scan. No, you don't need it. And then one night I started getting this rash. It was some weird rash here. And I'm like, and it's getting darker and darker. And I ended up telling my sister about it, and I took a picture and I sent it to her. Well, she showed it to her doctors at the office, and they started to wonder if it was inflammatory breast cancer. Go figure. I already had 3 different kinds of breast cancer in one breast. Now I get to have inflammatory breast cancer? how do I even have that if I don't have breasts anymore? Because I had my breasts removed. These are implants. Didn't make sense to me, but it kind of made sense. I kind of knew at that point that I was dealing with some kind of cancer, but I didn't know what. So I called my doctor again and told her I had to come in because I was in such bad shape. But she wasn't there that day, so I saw her colleague. I told her everything. I told her what my sister's doctor said. I told her what my whole history. Hold on one second. So she was, thank God, she said, you know what, I think I'm just going to send you for an MRI. So she sent me for an MRI without contrast. 3 days later, it was a Friday night. I was dropping my one son off at a church function called Awana. My middle son was here, and Amanda was with me. I just signed him in and turned around to walk out to my car. Was walking to my car when my phone rang. Anytime my phone rings and the phone number doesn't show up, I usually don't answer it. But for some reason I did. I didn't even look at the phone number. I just picked it up and started, hello. And here it was that doctor on the phone. And she's like, Miss Grasso? And I'm like, yes. She's like, we got your results back. And unfortunately, I'm very sorry, but there is a large mass, very large mass in your mediastinum, which is your chest. And they did find something in your lungs too. I need you to get to the ER immediately. So I walked back in to the place to give my one son. I got Christian. I had already told Amanda in the car because I was bawling my eyes. I could not say it, and she's just crying, Mommy, are you going to die? Mommy, are you going to die? She's like, it was just hard. And I called my sister. My sister's like, I knew it. She's like, I'm so mad it took this long. And I was while we were driving home, I told my oldest about it. And we came home, I told my middle son about it. And I gave them the option. I said, we're going to first go get water ice. And then it's up to you if you want to come with me to the hospital or go back to your dad's house. And unfortunately, the very next day was my daughter's birthday party for her birthday. And I said to her, I said, how about you just stay with Daddy and help him set up for the birthday party. He said, okay, Mom. And then my oldest is high-functioning autism, but stressful situations aren't good for him. He's not good with them. So he said, Mom, you know how I don't like the hospital. And I said, I understand. She said, are you sure you're not going to be mad at me? I'm like, no, that's okay, sweetie. You go and calm down and just go relax, and I will call you, and I'll let you know what's happening. But my middle child, holding on to me completely, I am not going, Mom. I am staying with you. I'm not going with Dad. I'm staying with you. Kept saying it over and over. And I'm like, you don't have to, honey. So he did stay with me that night. He did end up going home later when he got tired. His dad came to pick him up. But I only stayed in the hospital for like 2 days at that point. They knew it was some type of stage 4 metastatic cancer, but they didn't know what. And of course, they thought at first it was breast cancer, so they started to test that. And they gave me meds to help me with pain. And I ended up coming home. I forget what they gave me, but something they gave me, I did not have a good reaction to it. And I had a hard time breathing like 2 nights later that I ended up back in the ER. And stayed there for like another 2 months. And during that 2 months, they found out, like that night, they found out I had fluid in my lungs, fluid around my heart, 2 blood clots in my arm, what else? 1 large tumor in my mediastinum, anterior part of my mediastinum, another smaller tumor in that same area, tumors all throughout my lymph nodes, my regional and distant lymph nodes in the area. Thinking there's other stuff, but it's not coming to me. But they thought it was the breast cancer. When the test came back that it wasn't breast cancer, they started thinking it was lymphoma. But then the test came back not lymphoma. So then they're like, okay, what do we do? And my doctor started to wonder, you know, maybe we should just get you on chemo for something. And he gave me a port.
Alright, I am accessed. My port is accessed. Right there. There it is. She's good at it.
When I found out that I had cancer, I'm like, okay, I'm going to dye it pink. But there was hair all over the house. And my kids are like, every night I would make them dinner and they're like, Mom, just shave your head already. I'm sick of the hair being in our food. And I felt so bad, but I just didn't want to, knowing that this would be the last time I ever had hair. I had nurses coming out to the out to my house. It was just horrible. My kids, to know their mom already went through it, and to know their mom's going to die again, it's like horrible. But my doctor came to me one day and he says, we got some test results back. And I just have to explain this to you first. We're going to say your cancer is an apple. We sent your pieces of the apple everywhere to see if anyone could help us and figure out what you have. Nothing was coming up. We tested everything and it was all messed up. But I sent this one to a lab and I expect them to tell me the test results to come back some kind of an apple, like a Macintosh or a Granny Smith, Golden Delicious, but an apple. And I'm like, okay. And he goes, but it didn't. It didn't come back an apple. It didn't even come back a piece of fruit. It came back an elephant. And I'm like, what? And he's like, well, basically, they sent my results to a place that does genotherapy or geno testing. I had genetic testing with my breast cancer. Once they knew it was breast cancer, they sent it away to find out the genetic makeup of it, which is where they found out that it was the ER, estrogen and progesterone positive, and the HER negative. Well, this is like that, but he said what they decided they wanted to do was backwards. They run the test on it. They were looking to see if they could figure out what kind of cancer it was from that, running it backwards, I guess. And he said, and oddly enough, the answer, we don't know if it doesn't sound like it could be humanly possible, but it came back melanoma, some rare metastatic melanoma. And I'm like, okay, evidently they had already ruled out melanoma. But and I had no skin involvement of melanoma at all. That thing that was here, that was just a rash. That went away. That wasn't melanoma. And they're like, we have no idea how you could have gotten melanoma in your mediastinum. And we're not even sure if that's what it is. So they decided to send my pathology to other ones, other labs that did the same type of testing, and they all came back saying the same thing. So he's like, we're gonna switch you out. What he said is, we're gonna give you a PET scan. If the PET scan comes back that it's working, then it's probably not melanoma. If it's not working, then we really don't have many other options but to go for treatment for melanoma. Well, it came back and it had already spread everywhere. It was all throughout my lungs. The one tumor, the larger and smaller mediastinum tumors actually grew so big that it fractured my sternum, and I still have a broken sternum a year later. I had tumors in my sternum alone, and I had a tumor in the back of my skull. It was just horrible. But that result from that PET scan had us decide to change to an immunotherapy that had just been approved, like literally the week before, to treat melanoma. So I started on 2 different kinds of treatment for melanoma, immunotherapies, and it was still I got an infusion. I still go into the hospital and have it in my port, sit there for hours, and then come home, have side effects. Side effects are different than chemo. Not as much, not like throwing up and diarrhea for me. Lots of nausea. I feel like I have my treatment every other week. When I had it in the beginning, there were 2 medicines that I had. So I had it every 3 weeks. And I was really sick. It was really hard. I felt like I was just going downhill, downhill, downhill. And so with the side effects, the first day, of course, I was very tired. Because of the pre-meds. And then the second day and the third day, I basically felt like I had the flu, nausea the whole time, and extreme tiredness, fatigue. I never felt like that in my life. It was so bad. I barely could stay awake, ever. Couldn't hold my body up. I was like so tired. And like lots of coughing still, because that's a side effect of one of them. And like certain days it felt like all my bones were hurting, and one was like all my joints and even my tumors would swell up. It hurt more. But after, I think 6 months, I had the test and it showed that it was shrinking. And then the next 6 months, shrinking again. And now, I'm here a year later, and I'm about to have an MRI next week. I don't know what the results are going to be. I do know that there is something that did show up in my upper GI tract last time, and something on my bone scan showed up in my pelvic, and I've been having a lot of pain in that area. So it may be that the one caused the largest tumors to shrink, but then other ones are growing. But one thing, the combination of the 2 immunotherapies that I had in the beginning, I can only have like a certain amount of one of them, and that one is there. When you have the 2 of them, that's when it does the most work, and that was when it did the most work. Then I would have it every 3 weeks, treatment every 3 weeks, and now that I'm just doing the one, I have it every other week. So I don't have a lot of good days, but right now I'm 4 days. I was supposed to have chemo. I was supposed to have treatment like last week, but I had a trip, so I didn't want to ruin it. So I'm actually having it either today or tomorrow. Not sure which day, but I'm feeling quite good right now. But basically, they think maybe that the two of them really did a big work, a lot of work, and then now we're not seeing much shrinkage. So, and I'm also, there's a lot of chances of a lot of type of allergies. A lot of people can be on it for years and then, or months, and then all of a sudden have all these allergies. And I'm starting to have some of them, and my thyroid is starting to be affected. And they say that this type of immunotherapy is more toxic than chemo. I guess in the long run it's more dangerous, but my body at the moment doesn't seem to know, and pray that it doesn't, because it's a hard way to live, but I'm still here. Yay. It doesn't cause hair loss. So all of that time that I was holding onto my hair, not wanting to cut it, I'm so glad I didn't, because I got changed off the med and it doesn't cause hair loss. Now, in the end, after I stopped taking the chemo, like 3 weeks later, my hair just kept falling out. It did turn out that I was almost completely bald. So like all my pictures from last year, I had scarves and hats and stuff like that. But now my hair's here, and if this medicine doesn't stop working, this is great. I'm on disability. I can't really, on my treatments, like the week after my treatment, which is every other week. It's just hard to plan anything in normal life. I can't imagine trying to plan a job right now. And especially being a dental assistant, it's pretty, even if you follow all the sanitation standards and everything and do everything you're supposed to do the right way, it's still really kind of dangerous to have that type of a job when you have a low immune system and you're fighting cancer. So anyway, my kids are awesome. They know we have different days where they know I'm not going to be as good, and so we find things to do around the house. If I fall asleep, it's not a big deal. So my kids are awesome when it comes to that. My daughter is such a wonderful girl that she's always giving me encouragement and building me up. 11-year-old doing that. So
Mama says she's not cute. That just means she needs rainbows in her life. Everyone, if you're sad, you need rainbows in your life. Mama.
all I have to say is thank you, God. Thank you for all the prayers, everybody. I'm still here. I'm so happy.